Hey everybody, Mr. Gibson here. So for this activity, this is your third explore activity called building biomolecules. So far we've talked about how these big macromolecules, carbs, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids are put together via dehydration synthesis, how they're broken down by hydrolysis. We've talked about their structure, they all have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in common. We've talked about their differences, about how proteins also have nitrogen and sulfur, and how nucleic acids also have phosphorus and nitrogen. And so now we're really going to get into the nitty gritty of how are these things structured? What is the difference between a structure of a carbohydrate versus the structure of a lipid? And I feel like the best way for you guys to get to experience that is to get to actually build some macromolecules on your own. And so that's what you'll be doing in this assignment today. Now, normally we'd be doing this with a model kit, and you guys would probably be partnered up or in a group and sharing supplies. But in COVID, it's not necessarily ideal to do that, to share materials like that. So instead, we are going to use a virtual modeling kit, kind of. That is the link here. And before we get started, I wanted to show you this, okay? Because I had quite a bit of fun playing around with it. But I'm used to biology and chemistry stuff, so I want you guys to get a chance to see how this works. So I'm going to clear this out. So over here on the right, well, on the left, this where you have the white and the black. The white is going to be the two-dimensional model of your macromolecule, and on the right is going to be the three-dimensional model of your macromolecule. Okay, so over here in this middle bar here on the right of the white pane, you've got different elements, and if you need more than that, I don't think you will, but if you were to want to play around with this, if you want to play around with different elements, we've got all the elements on the periodic table here for you, okay? And here we've got single bonds, double bonds, and triple bonds. You've got a wedge bond and a hash bond, and that basically would show you, like a wedge bond would mean it was like coming out of the page. A hash bond would mean it's going away, like into the page, if you're trying to reflect that it's three-dimensional. But you don't have to do that. You can just stick to the single, double, and triple bonds. And so what we're going to do is you are going to build some of the macromolecules. Now, I have this reference sheet for you. And that reference sheet is going to have 4 different pictures of the macromolecule. So it's going to have, and mainly we're focusing on the monomers today because the polymers would be a little bit too big for you to have to draw in this modeling kit. If you remember how big DNA was, I would make you draw that, okay, or model it. So we're going to focus just on the monomers, or the building blocks of each of the 4 macromolecules. And so you're going to have glucose for carbs, you're going to have a fatty acid chain for lipids. They're technically not monomers and polymers, but you're still going to build one today. You're going to have a single amino acid for proteins, and you're going to build a single amino acid for nucleic acids. And so the way you're going to do that is you would just select whatever element you want. You can put carbon, and then if you want to bind that to another carbon, you can click and drag, and it'll do that. I would select toggle skeleton formula, and that's going to show you every individual atom. I would do that. Now, also some shortcuts. If you want it, because you know glucose is a 6-member ring, you can click on the hexagon, and it will go ahead and build that for you. You'll just need to go over here, replace oxygen there, and then you can add on the hydrogens and whatnot. And that's how you add molecules. Now, when you get to the fatty acid chain, there's a shortcut for that too. See here, it says carbon chain. So the fatty acid chain is going to look like a long chain of carbons and hydrogens. So if you just click that, it's going to build that for you. Okay, and then you can, attach it to, you can have oxygen, double bonded here, and then you can have the OH coming off there, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's how you're going to play around with this. It may take you a little bit of time, but I don't think it'll take you too much time, especially with the shortcuts that I just gave you. Now, once you've built your molecule, so once you've built glucose, I'm going to just put the hexagon back on here. This is not glucose. Glucose is a little more complicated, but this is the general shape of glucose. So you're going to click 2D to 3D. Okay. and that is going to convert your 2D molecule into a 3D molecule. You can click and drag around and look around like that. I think that's pretty awesome. And so once you've done that, for each of the macromolecules, you're going to screenshot this screen, and then you're going to paste it into this Google Doc. Okay. Now let me talk about the Google Doc for just a second. Okay. This first part is totally optional. My in-person kids will probably do this with me. If you want to do it at home, you can. You just take a cracker, you chew it up for 2 minutes, and you're going to notice as the enzymes in your saliva break down the starch or the polymer of a carbohydrate down to the monomers, which would be glucose, it'll start tasting really sweet, hopefully, if that works. Okay, but you don't have to do that. That's optional. Part 2 is really what we're focusing on. And so here's the link to the website. Here's where you'll put your model of all of the macromolecules. And then at the very end, you will answer the CER about could you survive on a diet only of sugars, only of carbohydrates, okay? And you're going to answer the claim evidence reasoning there. When you've done all of that, you can turn this in. If you need any help or can't get the website to load to build your molecule, or just need any help whatsoever, feel free to let me know. You can email me anytime. Okay? All right, guys. Good luck.